Good afternoon. Welcome to PJ and the Beard. This is our 19 conversation series. This is episode number 51, an hour of distraction, and it is just us today, us students from Pennsylvania. See Paul Ewing in the chat looking for Tim. Oh, Tim, where could you be? Tim,
his honker is right in front of me.
Honkering down right now. So is your
yes. Hi-oh.
That was quite a stinger right there.
Yes.
Yes. I'm just trying to boost my game.
I was about to say you're trying to boost the channel.
Yes. I don't know if I can get
any punnier.
Any funnier than that.
It's as punny as you get.
Brody Hutchins.
Yes. You know, I didn't think about it until you said. I knew it was 51. I didn't think about it today. I knew yesterday it was 50. We could have done a whole thing on alien type effects, weird effects, funny effects. We'll do that on the 151 episode.
Well, today would have been that Area 51, right?
I know, right? That's what I'm saying. We kind of missed an opportunity, but I didn't think about it until you actually said 51. I went, wait, what?
So, let's see what you're saying.
Yeah. Our clip of the day could have been Satriani surfing with the alien. Live and learn. Next time we do 51 of something, we'll do it.
Not to be cryptic on air, but the thing I said to you about earlier today,
yeah,
we'll get a tracking number soon.
Okay.
And we have to keep that on the down low until later.
All right.
So I'm cool with
that.
That
would not be an unboxing. Or that would have been a cool unboxing, like for today, would just black it out.
Would be anybody that's watched the series and all the interviews might be able to figure out what we're talking about.
Right.
Something that happened in the last week or two. But anyway, we'll leave it at that. Building suspense.
Yes, we are masters of the teaser.
Well, and I got to tell you, I was thinking about this today, and since nobody's on yet, really, I don't want to say nobody because Paul Ewing is apparently here, and we're finishing up his rehearsal, and Brody is in the house. We're 51 episodes. My wife's surgery is tomorrow, and with prayers that all goes well for that tomorrow, and her recovery Thursday. And I don't think that's going to take a long time to recover from. We could potentially start recording again soon.
All right.
Ben Combs. Hey, Ben. Good to see you, man. Wanted to catch your show last night, and the notification came up when I was in the beginning of my grad class nightmare, working at night. And by the time I got to click on it, you were done. It was painful. So anyway, yeah, I don't know. I don't know about our marathon Oprah Winfrey time slot stuff. Does that continue every day? Do we maybe pull that back to a couple days a week so we can start getting to record? Because I was typing out a list of stuff that we have to do, and it has built up.
Yeah.
Tremolo series and pedals aside. So we have to do the Tremolo series opener, and then we got to record the Tremolo pedals. And that right there is probably about, I don't want to say because I don't want Pat to get mad at me.
Well, they're tremolos. I don't care. Get 100 of them.
Well, I mean, I'm thinking at this point, it's probably with the series opener stuff, a good 23, 24 videos that we have to shoot.
Right.
That doesn't include if we do a couple, pull an amp in or something like that. So we have that. Oh, we have the Leslie 16 that we have to shoot yet. We have the alternative Leslie. I'm actually typing some of these in as we talk. Alternative Leslie video. We have the Earthquaker Kangra. This isn't pedal that I bet. We have the Earthquaker Kangra. These are just on the desk because we were talking to Earthquaker. Mike Roadblock hooked us up with an incredible deal to get us Jamie Stillman. Jamie Stillman mentioned in the interview we did with him that this is his favorite Earthquaker pedal. So we have that here. We want to do a video for that. Of course, the TL pedals. We got to get those videos done.
Well, I'm not even the place that the pedals come from, and I've got that.
Right. And then you have Joyo Mod Pedal over there.
And I have that. I have 4 over here, and this isn't even where the pedals come in the mail.
And then there's the Barber Tone Press that we never got a video done for that. And yeah, even I actually kind of want to do a video if we can, maybe on some form on the Howling Monkey picks.
Right.
I don't know how we could do a video for that, but just has anybody ever done a YouTube demo video for a pick?
We did a guitar stand and it was 11 minutes long, so I'm not sure.
And Ben said that he did a thumb pick the other night when we were talking to Ben. So
yeah.
We have that. So in other words, like we could get together every day for quite a while and like be popping these videos out, and then there's all the editing and stuff like that has to happen. So we are seriously behind and seriously what's the word? We've always been behind.
Yeah.
But and some of these are real. I'm turning that light on. Some of these are not prepared. Some of these are real commitments, right? We made a commitment to these companies that we were going to do this because some of them either sent us something when we asked or gave us a significant discount on it. So we want to take care of. We want to make sure we do that.
Well, we have another. We have to go back to the workers' comp. Like we did a quick unboxing a quick look on the Effects workers' comp. We did the really bad quick unboxing of the JHS PG-14. So yeah.
So let me add this Swindler.
Yeah, you're welcome.
Workers' comp. And would you say the JHS PG-13?
14, yeah. The show's PG-13. The pedal is PG-14.
Right. So Brian Landler's popping in. Hey guys, still at work?
He's saying we need to do a guest roundup thank you show.
Yeah. There's a guest I have in mind for the end of the series. And so I and I don't know what the end of the series is. Like even if we started to get it, if there's an end of the series, but do we end the series officially at some point, go to recording and then go to some other live stream thing that we do? Or do we just not keep the series going, but just not do it every day? So there's a guest I have in mind for that. I don't know that we can get the guest.
That'd be a good one. Then.
There's a guest I have in mind that I think would be a good way to end this series.
Hello, Paul Ewing. I think you acknowledged it earlier, but he said specifically hello to us. And Ben Combs says he's in love with the TL Stinger, so his shipment must have arrived from TL Pedals.
Right. You know what, Ben? The little bit of time I've had to play with it, every time I look at it, I'm like, oh, I'm just jonesing to plug it back in. So I'm with you. I'm with you on that. Stinger Fuzz, awesome. Stu Rat still at work.
Although look at him coming in early though. I mean, he's in 8 minutes and 17 seconds.
Must not be working very hard.
Oh, I think open up doesn't mean unboxing. You mean open up by juicing the volume. Brian's asking if Ben opened the Stinger. I would say yes. I would say yes. Oh, he said not yet. Okay. All right.
So, what else? Yeah, that's kind of that idea. I don't want to. That's a hard thing because I've gotten so used to doing this every day. The Oprah Winfrey, like Ben said, that time slot. I love it, and I'm almost like it's been so long since we've sat down and recorded an episode. I'm wondering how hard that is going to be the first couple episodes.
Oh, I don't know if this is. I'm excited about doing back to that because we have things to do, but I'm just like, this has been unexpectedly great.
Yeah.
And I don't mean anything that we're doing. I'm just saying doing these every day, and the guests that we had to include yesterday. Man, Johnny was great yesterday, and just people wouldn't expect to meet, telling stories, and interacting with everybody on the chat every day. Going back to doing pedals is going to be. It's not bad. It's just like, do I remember how?
Yeah, do we remember the kind of formula? I will say this: we've had cool guests, and actually, I made another playlist today on YouTube that pulls all the pedal build. So I made a pedal builders playlist that pulls all the pedal builders from the malt, because there were some in the interview series and there were some that were in this series. And I thought, well, let's just put all the pedal builders into one place.
Right.
I mean, the series playlist is still there and stuff. And I went back, took Ben's advice, added some tags to some of those things that didn't have tags, made sure they were in the playlist, because I haven't been the best at, like, when there's a workflow when we upload a video that we shoot, you know, and there's a part of that workflow that's putting the tags in and putting all the back end in. And I haven't been great at that with the series. So I did all of that and then put all those pedal builders into one. And I'm thinking, do we want to have maybe another playlist, because we have like the Bosco and Brian Ewald and Dave Weiner, you know, so maybe like the players, and then we have some interviews with some YouTube people or whatever.
Yeah.
So we could do some other playlists, but you got to be careful how I say this, because I don't want it to sound wrong, but all those amazing people that are doing amazing things that we've interviewed, yesterday by far was my favorite. And a lot of that has to do because I met Johnny when he was like 14 years old, and just this like really kind of intense kid that, you know, had a passion. But back at that point, I just remember him like picking up a bass guitar and slapping and popping. I think it was Johnny that would slap and pop on the bass, and, you know, like just thinking this is a talented kid that has a lot of talent, and if he finds a way to direct that passion, he will be great. And remember having some of those conversations with him. I don't know if we talked about that on air or off air, so I won't like go into it, but conversations with him about like kind of what he was doing and not doing at that time.
Right. Yeah, I think it was a little bit off air when we were done. Yeah.
But then seeing him where he is now.
Yep.
That's incredible. And then getting to talk to him and just how well spoken he was and how passionate he was about what he does.
And just so humble about it, right? And we could have talked to him for a very long time. Just like, I know we went to school, right? But that technology is always changing, and having to learn to do all that stuff. And he was in, I dare say, some pretty high pressure situations, right? Like that's what I think I said to him maybe on air or afterwards, that when I was talking to my family at dinner, trying to explain who we were going to have on, I tried to explain the difference, and maybe I said it on the show, but like the difference between mixing in front of house and the difference in controlling the monitors is two different animals, and you were way closer to the artists mixing the monitors, because you're trying to make sure they have what they need and dealing with all these personalities. And on top of that, then he's got all of the technology and creating, they weren't called scenes, I forget what he called them, like, you know, you know, like the intro of a song, people want something different in their ears than when they get to the third verse. And, you know, it's just really, it harkens back to a conversation with my friend Sal, who's basically like, yeah, we're in the music business, we love music, but we're really we're in the service industry is what we are. And I thought that Johnny modeled that perfectly. Like, I'm going to give these people what they need, and if I can't, I'm going to tell them why. I thought it was great.
Right. And then I'm going to go above and beyond to do that.
Yeah.
Like my attitude doesn't matter what I want. Like he even said, like if somebody's doing something that I think is wrong, I'm not going to say, I think that's wrong. I'm going to try and make the best out of it.
Yeah.
In his position and working with those. And, you know, like you don't get call. I mean, you go, okay, well, he's just doing the RF packs and stuff for Stevie Wonder. He's not mixing anything. Yeah, you don't get on Stevie Wonder's tour if you're not like good at doing the RF packs, right? They're not just pulling some schmo out of the local guitar. Right. Hey, you got anybody over there in Pro Audio that knows how to run an RF pack? We need him over here at the Stevie Wonder show tonight. You know, like,
yeah.
So
yeah, it was great. I mean, I you know, selfishly love to have a off-air conversation about him, because, you know, we try to keep our show positive, but I'd love to hear some of the disastrous stories and some of the tantrums and some of the, you know, behind the scenes, not so pleasant things that didn't go so well, or just people were like, oh my gosh.
Well, you know, there's one secret, you know, we didn't get into that would be, if anybody would know, he would know, but probably could never say. And that's the secret of how much lip syncing is actually going on at big concerts like that, because he's mixing, you know, Rihanna. who's it, Rhiannon and
Yeah.
Taylor Swift and people like that, and he's mixing their ears and giving them, like, so he would probably know what's coming out of the speakers if that's
right
recording or not. And so
can you hear can you hear your own voice in the mix enough even when your mouth's not moving?
Right.
That should have been the question. How many times have you had to ask if they could hear their voice when their mouth actually wasn't moving?
We didn't get into that, and I'm sure he would get into that.
Yeah, no, he's professional, but it's just interesting. That kind of stuff would be interesting, and we're not trying to create the PJ and the Beard TMZ version, but it's always interesting. We always tend to try to accentuate the good, and we've also said too, like, we've had people that we've encountered that have met people that were maybe some of our idols, and a couple of them were like, I don't know if you would want to meet them. It might ruin it for you. So anyway.
Brian said Johnny was fantastic. Don't underestimate the quality of the shows when you don't have a guest. They've been outstanding hangs. Thanks, man. Appreciate that. That's great to hear. Yeah. And he said that Johnny was good because he's never seen a monitor mix guy before, and it was surprised how interesting his career has been and how he's just 32. Yeah, I mean, like, I totally get what you're saying. Like, I didn't know exactly what he does, and to hear that, and that's a career, and that's a thing. I worry for him a little bit. I think he was very positive the whole time. I worry, like, what's happening with Johnny that, he's not going to be mixing monitors anytime soon. Right. But he seemed very positive about that.
He did. Even after talking to him afterwards, he was fine.
Yeah, he wasn't.
Yeah. Well, I mean, of course, but I guess maybe a little bit of his personality, right? He left school, but he finished school, but he left school, did the circus thing. But he was, I think, in his story to us, he was like, I moved to Nashville in 2015, and I really didn't have a lot going on. Like, he made the move. So, it doesn't seem like he's adverse to risk. So, he seems like a survivalist. So.
Positive, they got their own thing going on. His wife, like he said, his wife is a fitness instructor, and she's doing this like kind of online fitness thing, I think. And from what I saw on his webpage, and
yeah, we could maybe not soon because we just did it, but there's a guy that I know locally that does monitor mixes and stuff, and he does it. He does it locally, but he does on pretty much almost all the big acts that come to Hershey, which is every national tour more or less, and also in Reading and other places, and. I don't know if he's done as much travel, but he certainly works with those groups when they come to town. But anyway.
Ben says he needs to catch a replay of yesterday. Yeah, Ben, I mean,
yeah,
not all of it probably, but, you can use the scrubber button. There's some really good conversations in there with Johnny. He's a really cool guy.
Was this a good segue to go backwards then? Just to go with our clip of the day, although we've waited and the ushers have seated quite a few people while we were talking.
Yeah. Let's do it. Clip of the day.
We were joking with the diversity of the artist list that Johnny presented yesterday, that we could have gone a bunch of different directions and been a little self-serving. So we have a holdover from that, right? So when I realized he had worked with Stevie Wonder and others, I started going down different paths, and so we talked about it. But it wasn't hard to find. Dredged up a clip of SRV playing Superstition, I think is what we have, right?
Yeah, it's just a little taste of that.
Good excuse to play SRV.
Yeah, because you guys haven't ever heard of Stevie.
Right. He's not under the radar at all.
Every time I see Stevie play, and it's not often, I guess. It's not often as it probably should be. There were so many guys there for a while running around playing Stevie songs, and I'll admit it, we used to do a Stevie song or two. I think we did Tightrope or something. And you get worn out on Pride and Joy, and you get worn out on Texas Flood, and you get worn out on Cold Shot. And you see all these guys play it, and you start to think, yeah, whatever. It's like Stormy Monday at a blues jam. Like, again? Really? Although I've never gotten tired of Thrill's Gone, but Stormy Monday, there's like, it sends me over the edge. Sorry to Stormy Monday fans. Then you see Stevie play it, and you go, oh, yeah, that's right. Like, there was a guy, you mentioned him not too long ago. There was a guy, we won't mention his name, but there was a guy in our area that used to tour through our area and tour around a good bit that did the Stevie Ray Vaughan stick. He played all his tunes, wore the hat, wore the big things, wore the jewelry, wore the big turquoise things, had the Strat that was all beat up, came out and played Stevie Ray Vaughan all night, and he was a great guitar player.
Mm-hmm.
But he was not Stevie Ray Vaughan.
Right.
And then you watch Stevie Ray Vaughan, and like I said, it's just like, oh, yeah. That's why everybody tries to be him. Because you can't. Because he's so good.
Well, there was so much about that video, right? For one, we didn't even touch on the singing because he sang the song. It was great. The other three things I had in mind was, one, he's always Stevie, right? Like, he's soloing, and he put a lot of his signature stuff in that outro solo. Another thing was that, that was not the standard guitar. That looked like a, Fiesta Red, Strat. It wasn't the old SRV, mailbox decal guitar.
Stock.
Yeah. And more importantly, as I was watching, and you mentioned it in the guy that did the Stevie Ray Vaughan tribute, maybe that's what we want to call it. If he couldn't play like that, he could not get away with dressing like that. I'm just saying. Who's going to have a big plume coming out of the back of their hat and not get booed off the stage if you can't play like that? I mean, you're not Prince, for crying out loud.
Right. And he could play. I mean, he could play.
Gosh.
Like, you sat there and watched him, and you were like, this guy is good. He can do Stevie. But then you watch Stevie, and you go, oh, maybe not. You know what I mean? Like, there's a lot of people like that where you see people that, wow, they can sing. Their voice is really good. But then you hear the original and you go, oh, there's that thing. There's that thing. I'm not sure what you call that thing, but there's this thing that certain people have that when they walk out, it's kind of bigger, and Stevie, I think, has that presence. It's just, there's that thing there that you can go and you can do it and you can get real close and you can make people that are drinking in a bar at 9 o'clock or 10 o'clock or 1 o'clock in the morning happy. But when you put it up against the real thing, you go, it's not the same.
Well, I have an interesting question for the chat, and kind of this is steering us in a direction that we don't talk about because we just make this up as we go. But I'm not big on tribute bands, right? I don't like them partly for that reason. Like, you're not that person. Even if you're great, there's a reason you're doing a tribute to that person because they were so great, So, but I'll tell you what, like, we've talked about our friend Gary before, the one that I went to Nickelback with, but he also...
Can you stop admitting that? I'm going to unfriend you.
I did it again. My therapist said I should just keep talking about it. It's probably healthy for me to just help move on. That I've seen Nickelback once, just one time. I've seen Nickelback one time.
I'm looking for the unfriend button as we talk. Right.
One time though, it's okay if you only do it once.
Right.
So, but our friend Gary loves concerts. I swear that dude goes to more concerts than I do. Drummer friend of ours, fantastic guy. But he always gets tickets to Get the Let Out. And Get the Let Out is a Zeppelin tribute band. And I went. He had extra tickets, small venue, downtown Harrisburg.
True story. He took me a different time.
Right. So, we're both equally as special, I guess. I don't know. But, the thing I took away from that night was they were more interested in recreating the album than being the band. I mean, the front man did have kind of long hair, but it wasn't blonde, right? So he wasn't trying to be Robert Plant, right? And the other guys that were playing, they would have like a third guitarist just sort of come out of the wings sometimes to play the parts because they tried to play every part. They were panning the drums in the arena, in the auditorium. So they did the whole theremin thing, the whole thing. They were just interested in recreating the album. They weren't trying to be like, oh, you're watching Zeppelin play. So I kind of enjoyed that.
There was a little bit of that.
Yeah. I mean, I'm not saying the guy
and like mannerisms and moving, and there was a little bit of that.
Now, had the guy done his hair blonde, I'd be like, you're trying to. Yeah, I'm not saying there was nothing. It wasn't like some guy like in a 3-piece leisure suit, up there covering Robert Plant's stuff. But it wasn't like completely nuts. It wasn't like we were talking about the guy that did the SRB thing wearing all of the right jewelry and the hat and the whole thing. Anyway, it was a blend. So I guess my question, it was a very long rant. How do you feel about tribute bands, and which ones have you seen? And maybe they're a local band that, everybody picks a song, what there was Back in Black, Sabbath band around here or whatever. But how do you feel about tribute bands, and have you seen them?
So I'll go. I can answer since I don't have to type it.
And it's your show. So.
The Led Zeppelin, Get the Lead Out, great band. I mean, if you like Zeppelin, they're doing it. For me, though, not my thing, because I would rather see it taken one step further and not try to recreate the album, not try to be the people, but to play the song and interpret the song the way that the band wants to interpret the song. Mm-hmm. So where it's cool to be able to sing the riff in your head from the solo and whatever song, to me, it's cooler to see the band jam. And so if you take somebody like Government Mule is a great example because they've covered everybody. Like if you put a rock band together and you're like, oh, we should do this song. If you go look it up, Government Mule has probably done it at some point. And they do it where they tip the hat to the band. It's the song, but they don't try to be the band. And I really love that. I've seen Lori got tickets one time to see The Machine, which is a Pink Floyd cover band. They were really good. But again, there was just something kind of missing for me. We got tickets to see...
was that thing that was missing David Gilmour?
Right. We had tickets to see Dark Straw Orchestra, who was a Grateful Dead cover band. Again, they were really good, and probably of Get the Lead Out, The Machine. I think there's another one. Dark Straw was the closest to like kind of doing the tip the hat and just playing the music and not trying to be the band. And I appreciated that. There's a band out there called something Russo's. I don't know if anybody in the chat will know this, but there's his last name is Russo. And he does that band does like a Grateful Dead kind of thing, but they're in no way trying to be the Grateful Dead. They play that music, but they interpret it. It's fantastic.
Right.
So I don't know. Brian Landers said Dark Side of the Mule was genius, where they played like the whole Dark Side of the Moon for one of their things. Saul Santana opened for Clapton. John McLaughlin joined Santana. They both joined Clapton for the encore. But that would be sweet.
Well, then he said Keith Moon came out and played drums. I don't know if it was the dog paw when the question was, who would you see, past, present, or future? Somebody said they saw Hendrix twice. The only person I know is Brody's dad. I think saw Hendrix, but that show the dog paw saw, with Keith Moon, that's unbelievable.
Since you're on the topic of Pink Floyd, I don't know if we'll be able to click on that link. Jay sent the link to Facebook, so I will go back and check that link out, Jay.
Yeah, Jay's a good friend of mine, checking in from Facebook World. What's up, Mr. Jay?
So somebody sent all I can see is the link. So they sent it into Facebook. So if you go out to the PJ and the Beard Facebook page, you can see that. But it's something about Roger Waters' Blast David Gilmour Pink Floyd website. Yeah, I'm sure. I wonder how recent that is. We'll have to go check that out.
Right. What did Brody say? Great tribute bands serve the songs of the band. Posers tried to impersonate the characters. I like it. Because kind of what Jason was saying, I'm down with it, right? Like, Little Wing undoubtedly is one of my favorite songs, and one of the favorite rabbit trails I've been down before. Rabbit holes, we always go, is it a trail or a hole? Who knows? The trail leads to the hole. I don't know, but I love to go look at Little Wing and see who's done it, right? Stevie Ray Vaughan's version of it is brilliant. Obviously, the original is great. Sting does it. The Cranberries have done it. Tuck and Patty, who I talked about, Tuck Andrews on this show, have done it. So it is really cool, to Jason's point, to see other people interpret other people's songs. That is really cool when you can see someone's own spin on a song, for sure. But that is one of my favorite little trips I've taken on the YouTubes.
That would be really cool. Yeah. I'm just looking at Hobo Roadie talking about somebody from the original band, really saying the band that covered the song did a great job. I mean, that would be about the best compliment you could ever get. Right?
It's better than a cease and desist letter.
Well, and that's like, who did not a band that I really care about, but did a cover of Paul Simon's Bridge Over Troubled Water.
Stained. No. You're talking about the guy with the real deep voice that gets. Yeah. I saw him do it live because I went to see Alice Cooper, and they were playing with him that night. Who the heck? It's a horrible. I can't think of their name all of a sudden. It's a heavier band, and the dude has got an amazing voice. Stained. Is that Stained?
I'll probably get it in the chat before it pops in my head, but
is it Stained? I mean, who's the? Well, I'm so confused all of a sudden.
I had it in my head. I thought I had it in my head a second ago.
Well, what was cool is it was Alice Cooper that I went to see, and they opened for him, and they did that song out on side of, like when they kind of extend the stage and put it out further. They did it there, and it was so impressive.
Disturbed.
Yeah, Disturbed. Let's say Stained. Oh, so close. Disturbed, yeah. Which is funny because he's got such a deep, powerful voice, but man, he can go places for sure. Rivaled that night by the fact that I saw John 5 play that night. That was an experience. So
Zoot did a fantastic version of Eleanor Rigby. Oh man, we're diving deep into the cover tunes. I like that. Who else is covered really cool? Back to the Dead for whatever reason, but John Scofield did that whole Jazz is Dead thing where they put out that CD that was all Grateful Dead music played jazz. And John Scofield, if you're not familiar with his guitar playing, he's a monster. Quentin Saul John 5 with Katie Lang.
Quentin James wins. Well, what's crazy is John 5 does all that madness on Telecasters. It's crazy. I think you want to have fun. Go watch the Sweetwater. Mitch, what's the guy's name from Sweetwater?
Mitch.
Anyway, yeah. Go watch that. He is with John 5 at John 5's house, like up in the Hollywood Hills somewhere. And
Gallagher.
John has a guitar. Yeah, Mitch Gallagher. Because he's kind of super, straight, not hip, but I don't know. I'm not getting into my opinions about Mitch Gallagher, but John 5 has a guitar in his hand, and like any guitarist, he cannot stop noodling the entire interview. And his playing is so eclectic and diverse. It's amazing. So anyway.
So was that a good pedal of the day, or are we still on this road of...
No, we can go pedal of the day. We can circle back and...
All right, if you have more.
Blues Travel covered Get Out of Denver.
Blues Traveler's like the soundtrack to my high school, like my senior year. I think it was senior or junior year. We drove to like Beach Week listening to Blues Traveler, the first album that's just like kind of bluish album, man. That thing was great. I've seen them live like 4 or 5 times. John Popper, I don't care what anybody says, is amazing.
Crazy good.
His voice is... I love when you get a musician like John Popper whose voice is almost as good or better than his playing. You know what I mean? Like,
right.
I always have been a big Blues Traveler fan.
Brody said Lenny Kravitz and Clapton absolutely kill All Along the Watchtower. It's rumored that Hendrix covered the Beatles. Just saying. Right in front of them. Quentin James. I did All Along. I did a play along to I Think I Love You by the Partridge Family. Fight me.
So
that's good.
pedal of the
Yeah,
day, we're pulling some pedals out to list on Reverb. This has been really difficult. If you haven't, I don't know if anybody would ever even look at what we list on Reverb, but we did all those Leslie pedals, and I think we still have like 95% of them, and
Right.
some of them have to go because we went into the tremolo series before we got rid of the Leslie pedals, which was not the plan. The plan was buy the ones we need, flip the ones we don't need, use that money to buy the next one. So we need to start recouping some funds.
Yeah, because I've only got one kidney left, so we got to sell some stuff.
So one of the ones on the chopping block, and it really, I don't know if I can do it. I don't know if I can list it. It's been sitting over here to be listed. Is this guy right here?
I'll buy it just for the lights.
I know, that's what I'm saying. This guy right here, this is the Boss RT20 rotary sound processor. I have seen over the years hate for this pedal. Like, people don't like it. People think that the lights are. I just press the button to speed that up. Look at that go. Oh yeah. People don't like it. It has 4 different modes. I know one is. I think 3 of them are a Leslie and one's a Univibe mode. So they actually put the Univibe in with the thing. You have the rise time that you can control. You have an effect and a direct level. You have a balance and overdrive, slow and fast. We did a whole episode on it. There's an episode out there so you can see everything that it can do. Stereo in and out for phones, an expression pedal. You can use it on guitar or keyboard. Fantastic. Sounds great. I don't care what. I mean, there's some snobbery out there. This sounds great. It's a great sounding pedal. And the light, you get that nice slow, and then you're like, oh, it's time to kick it into high gear. And you hit that button, and it speeds up. Let's turn the rise time way down. You can't hear it, but I'm going to turn the rise time way down right here.
Can you hear it? I think
the long. Wait, did I hit the right one?
I don't know.
Yeah.
I'm just laughing.
Slow down.
I'm just laughing because I see so many things when that happens, and one of them is Dr. Evil. I'm about to travel through time and space. I bid you adieu. And I just picture him running into that circle thing and just smacking his head and falling down. That
so
or
the outside is spinning like the horns, the inside spinning like the rotor or the baffle. Come on. Great pedal. I don't want to get rid of it. I just want to be able to turn on and stare at the lights.
And we want it to stay in the family. So go to our Reverb channel.
Yeah.
You get a PJ and the Beard sticker, I promise.
I don't know if I'm going to list it or not.
You're worse than me.
I know. Every time I pick one up, I'm like,
Well, we did the shortest lived series of, do I need this? Because everything that I played, I wanted to keep. And when we got into the Red Witch brand, I bought 2 more pedals. Not only did I not sell the chorus pedal I had, I bought 2 more. So we can't do any more of the, do I need this?
Yeah. I don't know if I can do it.
Yeah, Brian Lander, that's the story I was referring to, the day that the Beatles released Sgt. Pepper's Hendrix busting out. There you go, Hobo Roadie.
Jim, Johnny's brother. Jim, man, it's so cool to see you guys. Should I sell my Zoom 505 and buy that thing? Well, I don't know. What do you use your Zoom 505 for? That's the RT20 strictly Leslie sound. I mean, what's the 505? That's probably multi-fix unit, right? Zoom?
I think it is, yeah.
Yeah.
Brian Landis wants to know how to find the store. I don't know if Jason is willing to put the link in the chat or not. I know Pete Hickson. Pete Hickson, we only sell gear to buy other gear, and that's kind of a hard and fast rule. We're doing it for the show.
I don't know. Can you post a link to the store? There's not much there right now. I think there's 2 that I've finally got around to listing. Yeah, the only thing in our store right now is Electro Harmon X Lester K and the Korg Twin Works. And, we're flipping them basically for what we bought them for. If somebody in here messages, I don't know, we could probably knock $5 or $10 off them, but we're trying to get back what we put into them.
Right.
I would knock a couple dollars off for somebody in here, but yeah, we don't sell guitars.
Mm-mm.
Amps seldomly, but sometimes.
Right.
But we gotta move. We gotta move some of the pedal inventory, or we would be buried.
We got to move these refrigerators. We got to move these color TVs.
Well, and the thing is, if you get to demo 23, 24 Leslie pedals,
yeah,
I'll say this: we are keeping, without a doubt, the Neo Instruments, both the micro and the mini Neo Instrument. They're staying. We're keeping the Fender Pinwheel. That's staying. The DLS Effects Roto Spin. That's staying. I think the Pigtronics is staying. Hughes and Kettner is staying.
Well,
so
yeah.
keeping I feel like there's another one. The Keeley Dynatron or Dynamo Rotor is still around too. There's some on there that we're definitely keeping.
Yeah,
we're keeping 5 or 6 of what we thought were our favorite ones. So it's just hard to the Strymon Lex.
Well, yeah. You have the box out.
Yeah, I mean, I really like that pedal. I think it's a great pedal. It's a great. I mean, I think it's one of the best. But how many?
Brian Lander said there was one that really stood out to me, but I can't remember which one. We'll just buy them all and figure it out. Shoot your own series, and then you sell them again.
Brian, was it the Pigtronic? What's it called? The Rotosphere?
Rototron?
Rototron. Because the Pigtronics is the one that you could put 2 expression pedals in, and you could you could control the high or the low of the Leslie, and that was bam. Johnny Eli just jumped in. Johnny, we were talking about you earlier in the show. Hopefully you weren't here because we were saying nice things.
Yeah, you put out a restraining order against us if you heard what we were saying about you. But it's Jim's his brother, right? Jim said you guys have a standout piece of gear that you sold and regret. I feel like everyone has at least one. Yeah, I do. And it's kind of funny because Jason did kind of put that pecking order, like pedals, amps, guitars. Like, which would you sell first and which have you sold? I had 2 Mesa 22 caliber studio amps, and the one I regret selling. Well, I had them both, but the one I regret selling is the one that had the EQ on it. Those are really cool amps, and I kind of wish I still had that. That's the one that always jumps out to me when we talk about stuff that I sold that I regret. That's probably the biggest one.
Well, I have never sold a guitar, so I don't regret.
That's right.
So Jim and Johnny, when you guys were in school, so every Thursday night there was a blues jam in Harrisburg. So every Wednesday night was blues, national blues acts at Klinger's. So national blues acts on Wednesday nights. Thursday was a blues jam in Harrisburg. So I'd go up and play at the blues jam in Harrisburg. And that started right about the time I started teaching, maybe a little bit before. And I used to hear all those old guys, and I only had my green. I had the black Telecaster and the teal green Strat at that time. I bought that PRS about that first year of teaching. So you guys probably remember me bringing that into class. I used to go to this blues jam, and all the old cats would be like, "Oh, I used to have a 19 whatever Les Paul or SG," and I would hear them crying these sob stories over these guitars that they sold and wish they never sell. And it was funny because they always sold I sold a 1958 Les Paul Gold Top to buy,
heating oil,
a Jackson 7-string or something stupid, right? Not that Jackson's stupid, but anyway. So I was just I'm never selling a guitar, and at this point I have, and now there's a few I might. But at this point I've never sold a guitar. Amp wise, I didn't love the amp I sold. I can tell you amps I've sold, but the Origin 50, the Marshall Origin 50, there was a Fender Vibrolux reissue. There was an Egnator I've never had a regret over selling an amp. There's a couple pedals, maybe. I had an old Rat pedal that I'm wondering if that Rat pedal I had was one of the old Rat pedals.
Right.
And maybe I should have kept it because they seem to be really popular now. I had an original Klon one time that I gave away. No, I'm kidding. Gave the original Klon away.
Pete Hickson has kind of a story that starts out great and has a horrible ending, almost like a Lifetime movie with a crooked sheriff murdering everyone. I gave a lad all my gear years ago. I had some time off playing. He's a bass and drum player. He was learning guitar. 6 months later, I found out his mom sold most of it.
Oh, that's not good.
Well, and then Brian Landreth, I regret selling my Swamp Ass Special and 67 Bassman. Let's have a moment of silence for both pieces of that gear.
Dave said Dave Timlin, who former guy too. He said he's broke some guitars. Jim says absolutely remembers that guitar. You bought it, and let me check it out. And Jim, that guitar is still sitting like right here.
There you go.
Has some more dings and wear and tear on it than it used to 20 years ago, but she's still doing good. 20 years old? So 2000, 20 years old right now.
The Dog Paw smashed a 69 white SG custom into little pieces. Brian Landreth, I've given away more pedals than I've sold. You know, I don't know if this is a regret or not, because I had a 1967 Gretsch Viking. So big hollow body guitar with some kind of weird snap-on leather piece in the back and this wild tremolo. And I got it from my friend Randall Robertson. We've talked about a lot on this show. I don't remember what I paid for it. I was born in 67. There, I said it. I'm old. And so I was like, oh, it's great. But
you still get around.
But I barely. When I get up and go to pee at night, it's a question of whether it's going to be in the bathroom or on the floor. Hi-yo. But the good news about that is I traded that guitar for my first PRS. So it kind of got me on my PRS journey. However, ... In a recent Reverb search, I've seen those Gretsch Vikings going for over $2,000. And I'm like, ugh. It's cool. Sunburst had all kinds of little toggle switches and all of that. But that's one guitar. So I don't know if I traded this trade set count as selling. I don't know. But
Ben Combs is out of here. See you, Ben.
Thanks again for the other night having us on the show, Ben. That was great.
Yeah, man.
Yeah, Dog Paw says he still has nightmares of breaking that guitar 40 years later. What were you, like in a Who tribute band or something? And he just had to smash himself.
Sold a Gretsch for Duosonic. No regrets.
Yeah, we should have a segment called No Regrets. Go for that. But
that's true.
Yeah.
We don't have any pedal board pictures.
No, we don't. That's true.
So one of the things we've been saying is if you have a picture of your pedal board, we did show Johnny's pedal board yesterday.
Mm-hmm.
So like looking at you guys, Dave and Jim, if you guys have pictures of pedal boards, send them to just go to Facebook and go to the PJ and the Beard page, and there's a post about that. You can put it in the comment, or better yet, just message it to me through there, and we can pull it up and check them out. We love checking out people's pedal boards. A good idea. So yeah,
Brody's right. The Viking was not terribly hard to part with because it did have trouble staying in tune. Hobo Rody putting a little spin on our question. How about never not buying the guitar you love? That 54 Gold Top with the original strings I didn't buy for $1,000 in 1980 will always haunt me.
Oh my gosh.
And then I feel like people do this just to hurt you, Jason. The Flying V comes up at least once an episode. So Paul Ewing had an original V, but sold it for plane tickets and shipping my other gear to move back from the UK.
Someday we're going to complain about this. The Flying V is becoming a thing. For those of you that don't know, my wife has stated emphatically no Flying Vs. She has a thing with the way guitars look. Like she hates that teal Strat. So she's like, if you're going to put guitars on the wall, and so you can't see, you see guitars sitting back here, but over here where Pat and I record, if you look at any of the videos, there's guitars that hang up on the wall. If there's going to be a guitar on the wall, it has to be pretty. And she has determined that Flying Vs are ugly and they are They've been ixnayed. I'm not allowed to get a flying V. You know, Chris, there's been Facebook posts about this. Like Chris will be like, I got a flying V, and I'm like, oh yeah, how? And then she'll like comment.
That's right.
Commented.
You want Mrs. Beard to chime in and start talking about a flying V. She comes out of nowhere.
Right. Like if you ever see Bubbler Mom or whatever, she'll pop up in the chat from time to time, just mention a flying V, and she'll be like, no. Like she ixnays this. So it's a thing. Like, because my wife is so anti-flying V, I have finally decided having one would be cool.
Although she's very pro guitar. Just anti like 3 guitars. I've only heard of 3. And you own 2 of them, so you're just trying to finish the trifecta.
Right. If it's ugly, she's kind of against it, but you know, if it's a cool looking guitar, 9 out of 10 guitars she'll approve. The flying V has been ixnayed. I think a Firebird. I'm not sure a Firebird would slip by either. That's another one that's like kind of on the wish list. But the flying V has become a thing so much and talked about so much. I'm expecting someday one will just show up on the front porch to see her. Right? Somebody is gonna like hear this and take pity and send a flying V. Reverend makes an awesome flying V. You know, I'd like to check out more Reverend's guitars because their guitars look great.
Yeah.
Those sparkle Reverend guitars they had at that Philly guitar show. Do you remember this?
Oh, I remember. I remember a lot about Reverend from the Philly guitar show.
Yeah, that they. I'm trying to find it because they look so good. And I think she did ixnay that Reverend Sparkle because she was like, "Oh no." We'll do orange for obvious reasons that some people in the chat will understand, and those that don't, it doesn't matter. Let's see, can we make it? It's kind of blurry, but we can handle blurry. You remember those?
Yeah, look at that.
Speaking of Chris Delaporte, I wish he would jump in on the chat so we could ask him where the Telecaster is.
All right. Yeah, I think Brian Landreth has given you some sage marital advice because he asked a question. The answer to has she complained at all about all the gear you've bought? Question mark. The answer to that would be no. And then he'd say, I'd have to let her have her way on the V.
God. I'm trying to think. That was a good question. What guitar did you have in your hands that you almost bought and didn't, and you regret? Because there's been a few. I think I go by the. I never impulse buy. So there's been a few that have slipped through my hands at like Chris's place. He had a Republic steel body like resonator guitar. It was like a parlor size though. And I was really, really close, and I put it back up, and I'm like, I'm going to go home and think about it. Somebody bought it like 2 hours later. There was a Telecaster there one time. There was a Flying V there one time where those things happened. He had a old 60s 212 Fender. What's the one? It's not a Twin, and it's not a Vibrolux. There's a Fender Pro Reverb. I think it's a Pro Reverb. It's 212. It's like a Twin, but only about 50 watts. And he had one, and I walked out. I was like, no, I'm not going to buy it. And I walked out, and I actually called him like 4 hours later, and I'm like, okay, I'll take it. He's like, no, I've decided to keep it. And then he kept it, and I think it was back up for sale, but I figure if it didn't get it the first time.
Paul Ewing said he passed on a 1976 in 1976 passed on a really old Junior.
Johnny says he regrets not buying a Nash Telly, a Carter Vintage, about a year ago.
Yeah, I've never played one. I mean, certainly there is a lot of buzz about them, but I've never played one. Brody said he's reached the point where I've become more discerning, so I'm letting things go. However, I'm using those funds for other gear. So.
I'm laughing at that.
Which one?
Brody's.
Oh, yeah.
He's become more discerning now. I feel them though. It took me longer to get to that point. It took him longer than me to get to that point.
Well, part of his problem is he's become pals with Gordon Kennedy, session player extraordinaire, songwriter in Nashville, who has a ton of gear and has let some stuff go. And because he and Brody are buddies, Brody's gotten the right of first refusal on many things. Right. I'm sure it crushing him, because I've watched him walk away for a guitar for $15 at the Philly Guitar Show that was the perfect pair for the Telecaster, the same color. He was looking at the Stratocaster, $15. I'm out. But then Gordon Kennedy's like, so do you want this 335 with no serial number? That was the pre-prototype for So. Ooh, Brazilian Rosewood McCarty. Brazilian Rosewood neck McCarty in my hands. Yeah, Jason and I think, had the Rosewood neck experience, not with a PRS, but was that a Telly at Chris's that one time? Oh, my goodness.
Right. That guitar still kind of haunts me a little bit.
Yeah.
So so there's another, with 4 minutes left, there's another guitars that haunt you a little bit. You know, like ones that you play that, whether you had the opportunity to buy them or not, the Telecaster with the Rosewood neck. And I have that 50s Telly sitting back there that, you know, I was like, well, I don't need that. But that Rosewood neck haunts me. The other guitar that haunts me is the Skytop acoustic. I've never played an acoustic guitar in my lap that sounded as good as that acoustic guitar.
Yeah. Of course, they were pricey, but yeah, that was a really cool guitar. And was it Tim? What was his name? He was a really nice guy. We could circle back on some of those guys too. If we get to episode 100, if we get to episode 75, we'll switch to all acoustic all the time. Dave Timlin, who did say earlier, I think he's going to send you some pedalboard pictures. I regret selling my Tom DeLonge Fender. It was Squire, but still, was that like the one pickup Fender, right? Yeah, like a Telly.
This is that is a Sky top, solid top, and it has these two holes in it. And when we walked by, we looked at it. We were like, "Whatever." You know, like, what is that? When you sit down with that in your lap and play, the sound that comes out of those two holes and hits you right in the face. I'm not saying that it would be a great performance guitar. I'm not saying. Although the guy says it sounds really good out front, and it sounded really good out front when Pat was playing it, and I was listening to Pat play it, and I was like, wow, that sounds really good. Then I sat down and played it, and I was like, oh my gosh, this thing is amazing. Mm-hmm. Like, you put it in your lap, and it...
Yeah, those side ports are, you know, they're aimed at the player, right? I think we've talked about this a little bit before, and it doesn't have a sound hole in the front, so it was just kind of weird looking all the way around, and you sit down and play it, but it really helps you play. I don't know. It really affects the way you play, not in a bad way, because you just hear things you don't normally hear. And that was an interesting show. We went to the Artisan Guitar Show in Philly, and a lot of these were, well, not a lot, all of them. Well, most of them were custom acoustic builders that might make 10, 12, 15 guitars a year. But they were spectacular.
Yeah, they were really good.
But they're all, you know, $4 to $10K probably.
Wish I would have worn my conscience 35 years ago and gave a guy $200 for his old worthless early 50s Tellywood case and ashtray.
Live and learn.
I'm still waiting to find that 58 Les Paul or 52 Telly at a yard sale somewhere for $150.
All right. With the internet, I kind of feel like those days have sort of disappeared.
Look up Stuart Mossman. Why am I looking up Stuart?
Because he said Stuart Mossman let me play one of the last 10 guitars he made. It was $32,000. So Brian's saying look him up. Yeah, the dog paw. There was a lot of builders. That was last spring. I feel like it's the first time I played with a port there, like a side port. I've played Tacomas. I've played McPherson's, which basically changed my life. But those ports pointed right at you. They had a lot of builders were doing that there. It was a really interesting experience.
Sold a 67 SG for rent money in 2004.
Today it would be a down payment on a house.
Yeah, I wish I could. Oh, Teleporter just sent me a message. He has a quick video to send me.
Nice.
Yeah. So I wish. Where are we at? We're at an hour. We're at an hour. If I can scroll through my phone, Pat, if you can talk, if you can stall while I try and.
I don't know. I don't have the gift of gab. I'm not sure what I'm going to talk about.
I'll show them a guitar that we want to do something with.
Okay.
But I got to find a picture of it.
Yeah. It's interesting. You know, this is this whole conversation today kind of probably makes people get that feeling in their gut of like, oh, why did I? But you know, hopefully there'll be more. You know, I think a lot of people in this chat, you may have had the experience. Hey, you play guitar. What do you think it's worth? And then they show you something. I'm not talking about a 59, Les Paul, but they show you something and they maybe give you a price. And then you're just like, I just got to tell them like what it's worth. Like, you want to sell that to me for X, it's really worth X, X, X. I've had a couple situations like that before. And you kind of walk away feeling good that you maybe help somebody get more of the appropriate amount for something, but you're always like, oh my goodness gracious.
Yeah.
Yeah, see, that's why Brody just said the exact same thing I was just saying. He's told the guy what it was worth. More than that, he took it the next day, hawked it without even letting me give him an offer. That kind of sucks, but like certainly gave you more. Probably he got more than that. But
all right, here we go. Last guitar of the day. So, background. If you have watched for a while, you might have caught the show we did with Guitar Hack where we showed the 1979 Les Paul custom and all of its glory. And it's, the state that she's in. And that guitar belongs to a good friend of mine who we thought was going to pass away. And it actually came to my house because he was pretty much told he wasn't going to be leaving the hospital. He left the hospital. He's doing pretty well. He has an artificial heart now. He's on the heart transplant waiting list, whatever. And that guitar has more sentimental value to him that makes its price appear than it does. It has a lot of sentimental value to me, but my price. So I don't know that we'll ever get together on a price.
Amounts of sentiment may vary per contestant.
Right. But I would love to own the guitar because he's somebody I really look up to. The way you would look up to like Clapton or Hendrix as being a guitar hero, this guy, even though a local guy, he has another guitar that when he was passing away, basically what happened when we thought he was going to pass away, his family said, he wants you guys to kind of go through his guitar collection, sell the stuff, and raise money. He's going to give that money to his nephew. And so now there's a chance that we might work with Chris and try to restore this guitar. See what you think of this. See if you think a restore would be worth it. Here's the guitar. I'm going to make the screen full. We're going to get rid of Pat and I so you can see it. So there's the front. There's the headstock. Back of the headstock. So you can see the tuners are not original. Look at the serial number. You can see the neck is pulling off. So the neck would definitely need to be reset. In fact, if you're looking at it closely, it almost looks like it's been painted around, like maybe it's been reset once before. But check out the checking on that. It looks great. Right. There's a better picture. See how it's like a little lighter blue here? That makes me think that maybe it's been put together once and tried to be touched up once before. This paint over top of the binding is original. That's real. And I don't think I have a picture of electronics cavity, unfortunately. But I will point out here, notice there's a little hole here, here, and here, right? So at one point in time, there was some like extra toggle switches on here, maybe to split coils. I don't remember. I kind of feel like the pickups are original. The plate's missing that would go over here. It's missing some other things. That is a. Do you remember the year, Pat?
That's what I was trying to remember. It's was it early to mid '60s? I want to say
68. It's a very rare. It's a 60s Pelham Blue SG.
Yep.
It's very rare. Very rare Pelham Blue SG. I think it would be cool to bring that thing back to life and maybe auction it off for Gary. He can't play it anymore. It's too heavy for him to play. He can still play, but that's too heavy for him to play. I think it'd be cool to try and restore it and then auction it, make it a thing. So, possibly worth it from Brian Landreth. Dog Brody says 64 SG you took to the guitar show?
I think, unless if we're talking about mine, but maybe not. I feel like there was another one we took that Les Paul the one time I thought too, but yeah.
Well, we talked to Gary. I talked to Gary about coming over. He wants to do this. He wants to come over and like record the story of that guitar. Like sit down and like tell how he got it, where he used it. Apparently there's a pretty good history behind that guitar. And I really do think that would kind of, for some people, maybe increase the value a little bit, because I think guitars that have stories and stuff attached to them.
Right.
But it's good. Whew.
Well, because didn't you find one? Of course, I think it was all original and in great shape. Was like 35 grand or something like that.
Yeah, 35. I think it was 35,000 one sold. Okay. The very last thing. Darn it, we're not doing a thing after this. I want to say it was a 19. I kind of want to say it was a 68. Let me see if I can. 1968. Here's on Reverb, Gibson SG Standard 1968 Pelham Blue that sold for $14,000. Estimate value is 15 to 22. Maybe this is older than the 68, because the 68 they show has the full pick guard, and his would only have the bottom pick guard.
Right.
So 60 what? Where are my Gibson like? That know this stuff. 64. Ah, there's a 64 that looks like that. I think it's a 64.
That's what I thought. I thought it was early to mid 60s.
Well, here's a 64 SG 64 Pelham Blue, $4,000. Is that a reissue or is that original? I don't know. We don't know anything.
That's why we have a show about nothing. We don't know anything. We're overly qualified.
Right. Maybe it's 65. Here we go. No. I don't know. Okay, I think it's a 65 because this is the guitar I found when I looked it up and I'd done the research on the date and stuff. I'll just share that super quick and then we're out of here. So there, I think that would be it, kind of brand new state. That sold for 30,000, or the listing was ended. $30,000, 1965 Pelham Blue. So I mean, he's never going to get that, but I would think he could get a couple grand for it anyway.
All right. Exactly.
Somebody said that used to be blue. Pete Hickson said, not hard to fix if you know what you're doing. Yeah, we wouldn't fix it. Nobody would let us knuckleheads. Brody says, even with a neck reset and replacing a few parts, that can't be worth more than $500 to $600. I don't know, man.
Well, I think he's meaning that the repair wouldn't cost more than $500 or $600 for some of that
Okay. Stuff. I don't know. He says, even with the neck reset and replacing a few parts, that can't be more than $500 $600. Fix it and play it.
I still think he means the repair pieces parts.
I definitely think that cleaned up, especially if you took the time to find period correct parts and stuff.
Right.
Even with the Nixon stuff, if it was selling in mint condition for $30,000, the Pelham Blue is a real hot color right now. I bet you can still get some money for it. I would think a couple grand. I don't know that I'd pay a couple grand, but I think somebody would.
It's for charity.
Oh, he said the repair costs. Okay.
Yeah.
Pat apparently knows you better than I do.
Well, 30 years will do that.
Right. Hey, ladies and gentlemen, thank you for hanging out with us for this show. Not nothing, but it was always, as always, it's fun to spend our afternoon with you for an hour. Awesome to see everybody here, Brian and Dog Paw and Jim and John and Dave, Paul Ewing, everybody else. We didn't see Dave Barber today. We didn't get anything to pull him out of the cracks, or Tim from TL Pedals, but appreciate seeing everybody. Ben Tom popping in, lurking again. Thanks, guys. Thanks, Ben. Have a great day. If you're new here and you didn't say anything, so we don't know you're here, thanks for coming by. Subscribe, and next time say something, join in on the conversation. And until then,
yes,
I think we will see you tomorrow. So we're good there.
Yeah, and working on something for Friday. You kind of stuck with us at this point for the balance of the week, but
yeah, Friday. Brian Landreth, Friday.
Yeah. So with that, I'm PJ on behalf of the Beard back here, reminding you, no matter what you hear, you never have too much gear.
I think you need to take your amp out of the fish tank.
That was the Joyo Vision with two of the most extreme settings run into each other.
I thought that was the StreamYard effect.
Oh no, that would have been in the garbage. That would have been the garbage disposal effect. That's what that one sounded like.
Tim 10 is up.
Tim 10.